friends, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Sigrid and I make videos about books because I love them. During the month of January, I buddy read a book with one of my closest friends. Her name is Simone. We decided that we want to make it into a video and talk about our thoughts. So the book that I selected, it was my pick for this month, and I selected Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. The reason why I picked this book is because this was a gift from Simone for like, I think a birthday or something, and it's super hyped. It's on everyone's like best book of the year, and so many people talk about this book and talk about how great it is, and so I've always had it on my list of books to read. And so, you know, as soon as I was given an opportunity to pick a book for us to read together, I was like, Magnolia Parks. Hey, so before we get started, let me do just a quick little summary of what Magnolia Parks is about. So this is a very character driven book. There isn't really a plot, and typically those books are not for me, and in this case it definitely was not. But this book follows this like fashionista socialite rich girl named Magnolia Parks. Okay, she is someone that literally everyone wants to date, everyone wants to be with, and people literally stalk, and paparazzis are always trying to figure out who she's dating. Okay, so I'm setting the scene for that. So she has her friend group, and they essentially met when they were in boarding school, and she's known one of them since she was 6 years old. His name is BJ, and they have an on again off again relationship that in my opinion is extremely toxic. They have not set healthy boundaries at all, and I think that is the root cause of this entire dysfunctional book. So her and BJ dated, and for a reason that I feel like would be spoilery, they did break up. And they always pine after each other. They want to be together, but because of the way that they broke up, they just can't do it. That's fair and that makes sense, but it's dysfunctional because although they're not together, they get upset and they argue whenever one of them is dating someone or whenever one of them is hooking up with someone, and it's to the point where it's just super toxic. They fight, they break up, they make up, they fight, they break up, they make up throughout the entire book, and probably the entire series, to be honest. So BJ is kind of like a playboy. He is someone who is a party boy, and he is a womanizer essentially. So I don't like his character, and you will see that Simone actually liked him, but I was not a fan of his character. I don't think that he deserved Magnolia, and I feel as though you really have to have a little self-worth and know what you're worth. And I know she broke up with him and everything, but like, you're still pining after him, sis. You're still dating people to make him jealous. Like, he still definitely has a hold on your life, and if he's causing you to do anything that you don't want to do. So essentially this book follows Magnolia as she's like dating people to make BJ jealous. It's just an on again off again. That's what the entire story is about. They throw in a little bit of plot, a little bit of drama, but that is essentially it. We're just watching those two pine about each other. It is in the point of views from BJ, Valentine, and Magnolia Parks. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of. Like, that's essentially it. Yeah, so that's my initial thoughts. We're gonna talk with Simone, so she's going to pop in throughout the video and tell her thoughts. So the way that this video is going to go is that we're going to talk about our initial thoughts, then we're going to go into the things that we liked about the book, then we're going to talk about the cons, which might have a few spoilers, so I will put up a little disclaimer here to say that some parts might have spoilers. I know I will be talking about spoilers because I feel like I can't give this book justice and thoroughly review it without spoiling some topics. So I will do that, but that will be in the cons portion later on. Okay, so let's see what Simone's initial thoughts was going into this book.
Okay, so let's get into my initial thoughts on Magnolia Parks. When I first started to see the video out on YouTube and Instagram, I was like, whoa, this book is getting a lot of traction. Sometimes when this happens with books, I immediately avoid them. Does anybody else do that? So I started to avoid the book because I didn't want to hear people's opinions too soon, especially before I decided if I wanted to read it or not. So at the time, I was following a woman on YouTube who decided to do a lookbook inspired by Magnolia Parks, and that was kind of like the turning point for me, where I decided that I definitely wanted to check out this book. I don't think that she does booktube anymore, but it was something about that really piqued my interest. But other than that, I didn't know anything going into the book.
Okay, so now that we know Simone's initial thoughts, let's jump into the things that we liked about the book. So I'll go first, and then we'll see what Simone liked about the book. I actually have quite a few things that I liked about the book, despite my rating. So number one, there were a few plot twists that I found to be interesting. I'm not going to say what they were, but I would just say the reason why Magnolia and BJ broke up was kind of like a little mystery for a little while. And then there's something that goes on with her dad and another person that is also in the book that I did not see that coming. It was literally like a little shocking, and it made the book a little bit more juicy. And I, like, at first, like, I was a little bored, and then like certain things like that would happen. I'm like, oh, like it's starting to get good. And then when Tom England came in, I was like, yes. And he comes with his own little plot twist, but I actually really loved Tom England. So part two, I love when a book has like multimedia like stuff in it, like text messages or emails. I don't know why. I think it sprouts from like when I was younger, and you know, you had those books that was completely written in text messages. I don't know, but like whenever I do see it in like adult books, I tend to really like them, and I did like that part. Number three, I like the found family element in this book. I feel like the friend group with Magnolia, BJ, and everyone is pretty much really strong, and I do like that. And they're like a family, so I like that. Number four, as I said earlier, I somewhat like Tom England, but I do think that he's a little shallow for even considering falling for Magnolia, because I don't see it. I don't see why he's interested in it, and he's like significantly older than her, to the point where it's like they have like memories of them together, but he was like, oh, you were like 9 years old, and I'm like, that's a little cringe, you know? But yeah, I just kind of feel like he should be like super mature, and like she's like in her 20s, and he's just like ready to like do all of this like petty shit with her, and it's like, it's not like, Tom, come on, you 30, we don't do this. And finally, number five, the writing was pretty good, other than one of my pet peeves that is going to be on my cons list, but otherwise I think it was very simplistic. It was kind of easy to read through. Even when I was bored, I felt like it wasn't that much of a struggle to continue to read. Like, it wasn't like unbearable to continue to read. I think it is written really simplistic, and it's written to the point where, although it's a really long book, it reads kind of fast-paced. So those were the things that I liked about this book. So let's jump over to Simone's video to see what she liked about the book.
So let's get into the pros. The book was kind of long, but it didn't read like it was over 400 pages. The book was pretty easy to get through, so I almost didn't notice that it was as long as it was. So I guess the simplicity of the writing and the format of the chapters made it really easy to breeze through. So that's my first positive thing about the book. Another positive thing is I really do think that BJ's character worked. I found that though I didn't really enjoy Magnolia, not saying that BJ was a character you should aspire to be like, but his character was interesting. His character was layered. And I think that if you've read other books where you have a troubled young man, it worked. Like, BJ's character worked for me. The third pro I would say is definitely Bridget. I feel like anytime that Bridget was on page, it was a little bit of a relief to get a kind of break from Magnolia, but especially from the 90% mark to the end of the book, Bridget really does do it for me. I think that her dialogue was some of the strongest within the whole book. So that was my last pro, and yeah, it was really hard for me to make that list. I'm gonna be honest with you all.
Okay. Okay, so now that Simone has mentioned Bridget, it reminded me that I actually really like Daisy Hate's character. And I know, like, reading and seeing other reviews, a lot of people say that they don't like her. I freaking love Daisy Hate. And it's probably because I don't like Magnolia Park's character that much, that because Daisy Hates don't like her and give her like a run for her money, and like don't really like, everyone else is like obsessed with Magnolia, everyone else is like willing to do whatever, and Daisy is like, no, F her. And I love that. So if I were to continue on with the series, it would be solely because Daisy Hate's book is book number 2 and I do like her. So, okay, so now that we have the pros out of the way, let's get to the good stuff, which is the bad stuff, because that's what you guys are here for. You want to know the cons. I have 10 cons on this list. So, obviously, this book did not fare well in the rating system, but let's just jump right in. Number 1 is my biggest pet peeve on earth, and I've never have seen this before in another book, and that is the over explanation of fashion. I do understand that this book is kind of like supposed to be modeled after Gossip Girl, which I don't agree with. Let's just stop here. I do not agree that this is like fanfic for Blair and Truck, because I was a huge Blair fan. I literally worship the ground that Blair Waldorf walked on for Gossip Girl, and this is not her. This is not she, okay? This is not Blair. If anything, this is Serena. If anything, this is based on Serena, because Serena was the one that everyone was obsessed with. She was seen as beautiful and people wanted to know who she was dating and all that stuff. Blair was completely different. Blair was smart. She was very goal oriented and she knew her worth. Okay, she was not going to keep going back to Chuck. She was not going to keep doing that stuff. Like, yeah, she was in love with him, but like, no, I do not see it. I don't see the comparison at all. So I had to stop that. The biggest pet peeve is the over explanation of fashion. And I kid you not, it's so much in this book that it's unbearable. Literally, Magnolia has this quirky characteristic where it's like she'll look at someone and she knows exactly the fashion brands, everything that they're wearing. So she'll, like, someone walks on page or whatever, she's like, oh, he's wearing a Louis Vuitton sweater in this color, these pants in this color from this brand, and these shoes from this, and even the socks. Okay, even the freaking socks. We know where they're from. They're cashmere, they're this, they're that. Like, at first, I was liking it. At first, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Every single character, every time someone walks on the page, if they change clothes, we're gonna know about it. It's to the point where BJ and Magnolia was like caught in bed, and instead of her like immediately saying, oh my gosh, this is what happened, his face expression, all of that, no, we got to know exactly what BJ Valentine was wearing. We got to know what boxers he was wearing, what pajamas he was wearing, and I hated it. Okay, it was just too much. It was too much, sis. Number 2, I did not like how unhealthy the boundaries were. And I understand that this book was supposed to cause drama, but making the characters literally sleep together every day, that's weird to me. And I'm not saying sleep together as in hooking up, sleeping together as in they literally share the same bed and go to sleep and wake up, because they're just so used to each other in their life. It comes off as cute if you're like 5 years old, but if you're like 20 something, that's not cute. It's not. It's weird, and you're holding on to this relationship and like trying to keep BJ from like moving on. Either move on or get back together. It should not be a thing. Number 3, every character is so freaking shallow. The only one that was not is Bridget, and I would say because the way she dressed, but I just really feel like Bridget was like the most authentic person that was caring and really nice. But Magnolia, literally, like, everyone is attractive if they have money, one, and if they have like a nice body. Every time she would either remotely consider a guy, oh, he's God's gift to earth because he has abs and he's wearing these clothes, so he must be for money, and he has these green eyes or blue eyes or whatever kind of eyes. It's just like there's not anyone over a size 4 in this book. There's not anyone that is poor, that's not like the servants or working class. There's no one. Like, it's just I didn't like that. Number 4, Magnolia is supposed to be darker skinned, but she is clearly white on this cover. Like, you guys gonna have to see this. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of history. I picked this book up and put it on my wish list because there were so many black booktubers who were telling me, oh, we finally got us a fashionista rich girl who is black. Oh, we finally have like a spoiled rich girl and she's black. She is set, like, there's certain scenes in the book that says she's black, but like the back of the cover, it's clear as day. It's clear as day. She is very much not black, and this is like at the most maybe a tan, which, mind you, I read a lot of books with lots of people, okay? I'm not saying that, but if I pick up a book specifically wanting the character to be black and that being promised to me, I feel a little disappointed when I read the book, or if I look at a picture of the person who the book is supposed to be about and they're not black. I'm just disappointed, you know? It kind of feels as though Jessa Hates like went back and edited a character that was supposed to be white and just put in like little sprinkles of her having darker skin, or her, like, you know, little things. It's like maybe 4 sections in the entire book that talks about how Magnolia looks, but when it does, it clearly says that she is darker skinned, and it's not a tan, because there's a point where Magnolia makes fun of a white girl with a tan because that girl is hitting on BJ, so she's being a little snotty. So I know that she does not look like a white girl with a tan, so she must look like a darker skinned, or at least a deeper skinned darker person, and that's what I was expecting. Like, I wanted that representation, and so seeing this picture just makes me feel like it was a ripoff or a ploy to get black people to support this book. And the fact that there are still booktubers who are like going around saying, oh, we have a black fashionista or a black girl, like, it's not given that. It's not. Did you not see the back of the cover? Because like that's the picture, and if like, I feel like it's important to make sure that your characters and your cover art matches the person, because then you're gonna have a situation like this, and it kind of feels like you're trying to get that diversity coin and exploiting a whole community of people who support books based on seeing characters that look like them, and we didn't get that in this book. Number 5, I feel as though this entire book was not a book. I feel as though there isn't a plot at all, and I know that there are character driven books and slice of life, but I feel as though this book feels like a side plot of an actual story, if you know what I mean. Like, if there was a actual story with a plot and characters and stuff, this entire book would be like stuff that happens on the side. Like, you'll see this and then we'll get back to the story and be like, oh, but that's kind of interesting, but let me get back to the main entree. So it's kind of like a side dish almost. I just feel as though, like, yeah, we needed a little bit more to make it into an actual story to me. Number 6, it's Fade to Black. This is very petty of me to say, but I was just a little annoyed. I'm just like, you already give us all of this stuff. You give us like over explaining fashion tips. You give us no plot. It's all characters, and then you want to make it fade to black. Are you kidding me? But I mean, that is just me. I was looking for a little bit more of the smut area, but it's fine. Number 7, none of the characters are likable. None of them. The only quirk about Magnolia is that little thing where she can like tell what someone is wearing right away, but I don't like her. She comes off as someone who is a goody two shoes. She's super shallow. I don't like, and then she doesn't have a backbone when it comes to BJ. Like, sis, stand your ground. Stand up. A guy likes a girl who they can't push around and tell what to do. You will literally walk in on him like with a girl, and then like he'll be in your bed that same night or the next night. I know she'll at first be like mad and whatnot, but like she quickly forgives him. Like, have a backbone. Like, I don't understand. And the fact is, like, the way that this book ends, BJ should be out completely, but the fact is, I know that their love story continues on, so that's annoying. Like, you're gonna take him back after that, after he did the thing that is unforgivable. But I tell you what, you probably ain't gonna take the other person back. I tell you that. And I hate when women do that. Like, be mad at both of them. That's so annoying to me. Be mad at both people. Number 8, there were so many times where the quote, How many loves do you get in a lifetime? At first, it sounded really good. There was some actual really good quotes in this book. But to sit here and keep seeing that same quote, how many loves do you get in one lifetime? How many true loves? Girl, what you and BJ have is, it's not a once in a lifetime kind of love. You just are so used to being with the same guy that you haven't opened your eyes up to see that there are other really amazing guys who would treat you so much better than BJ. This is not a once in a lifetime love. This is not a true love that you only get in a lifetime. Like, girl, wake up. Wake up and see that Tom England is there. I just love Tom. But even without Tom, there are so many other guys who would literally fall at Magnolia's feet, and she cannot stop looking to see what BJ is doing. He is a complete, like, he's a lost cause. Okay, you can be friends with someone without having to date them. It's just, I hated that quote because it made this relationship seems like it was like a once in a lifetime, really amazing kind of love, and it wasn't. I didn't see anything that was great about the love. In fact, I feel as though BJ just was meant to be your friend. Like, the reason why he knows you so well is because y'all are friends, not because y'all are dating, you know? Number 9, I would say the ending was super drawn out and completely predictable. It was kind of like, and then not only that, it was just so over dramatic, where it's like the perfume. First of all, why would you not throw that perfume away? You know that Magnolia has spent her entire life talking about some damn orange blossom and whatever. You didn't get the hint to be like, oh, I should throw out this perfume that is orange blossom, because she probably will recognize this scent since it is so traumatizing to her that I know I can't, like, you're rich. Just throw it out. Even if it was like $1 million perfume, throw that out. If you value, I don't want to spoil that, but I'm just saying it was so drawn out. It was so dramatic. It made no sense why that person still owned that perfume. It was just completely stupid. And the fact is, like, oh my gosh. And I just know, I haven't read the book. I haven't read the rest of the books in the series, but I just know that they are not going to survive that. But BJ is going to survive it, and I hate it. Number 10, this book was too damn long. I wrote it out like that, so I had to say it like that. It was too long. Let's see how long it is. This book is 497 pages, and it was just too long. It did not need, like, a slice of life, character-driven novel does not need to be like this. There was a lot of stuff that I feel like didn't need to be in here. It was just, it wasn't that interesting. It was a little boring to me as well. Like, the entire novel, like, was boring without the plot, like the little added plot twist. So we're gonna get into Simone's dislikes of this book, and then we're gonna talk about our ratings and final thoughts, and then that will be the end of this video. So let's jump into what Simone says.
So now let's get into the cons. My first con is going to come with a little bit of a disclaimer. I 100% believe that white authors can write Black characters. I don't have a problem with it. I'm totally fine with it. But something about the scene where Magnolia's father, Harley, aggresses towards her just didn't sit well with me. I couldn't help but think that had Magnolia been white, we wouldn't have gotten that scene. I don't think that the scene added anything to the story. I don't think the omission of that scene would have changed the story at all. And it just really did rub me the wrong way. My second con is really Magnolia's character as a whole. I don't think that her character was well fleshed out at all, especially with her being pretty much the center of the story and the point of multiple characters' desire. I just did not get why people were so into her. At one point, BJ is looking on to Magnolia talking to Tom's parents, and he is saying how anyone would love to have Magnolia as a part of their family. And if you read the same story that I read, what about Magnolia makes BJ think that, makes us think that? I don't get it. Like, I didn't see that at all. Her dialogue also was flat. I didn't need Magnolia to be aggressive. I didn't need her to be loud, but I needed her to have a voice. And I feel like in a lot of the conflict scenes where there's dialogue and she's the center of it, she kind of just takes the back seat. And I thought it was very weird. Yeah, none of her dialogue was good. I just didn't like it. And the last con, you all are going to think that I'm super petty, but the author writes nod 408 times. I searched it. 408 times in that novel. She says the word nod more than she says the word park, which is Magnolia's name. And it literally infuriated me. It was so distracting. Every other page, he nodded, she nodded once, they nodded. It was so annoying. I couldn't take anymore.
So now that we have gotten into some of Simone's cons, we can move on to our final thoughts. So I'm going to reveal my rating. So I rated this book a 1.5 out of 5. I originally was at 1 star, and then I gave it an extra little point because there were some plots that I found a little bit interesting that made it a little bit easier to keep on. I wanted to DNF this book 3 or 4 times throughout the book, but for it being a buddy read, I kept pushing myself to read it. This was just not for me. I'm not saying that it's a bad book, but it's very character driven, and I just kind of felt like it's really boring. I don't think that I will be continuing on with the next series because I feel as though even though I do like Daisy, I just feel like it just wouldn't be a good series for me, and I don't want to continue to read books that I don't like. I didn't like this, so I don't know what else to say. So we're gonna move into Simone's final thoughts.
All right, so let's get into my closing thoughts and my rating. I think that this book had the bones to be a solid book, but I think so many elements in this book failed. Magnolia, you needed her to be desirable. You didn't need her to be perfect, but you needed us to understand why multiple characters were pining after her. And I feel like there were multiple characters who I didn't understand why they would be involved with her. It wasn't believable. I also think that because she's such a pivotal part of the book, having bland dialogue really made her character, which is pretty much the center of the book, fall flat. This is a personal thing, but I absolutely hate the cheating trope. So because it did involve a cheating trope, it really plummeted the rating for me. Even without the cheating trope, I just didn't love the story. Up until the point of the 90% mark, I was riding on a 1.5 star. 1.5 because I could get through the book. I didn't beg Sigrid to quit, but I was really thinking that I was going to give this book 1.5 stars. The last 10% of the book is what made me be able to change my rating. Like I said earlier, with Bridget and some of the other things leading up to the end of the book, it was entertaining, and I felt like it deserved more than the 1.5 star that I was originally going to give it. That being said, I gave the book 2 stars.